Welcome. How are we doing, everybody? Can we start with a mic check? Can you drop a plus in the chat, please, if you can hear me? My lovely microphone here is hopefully working. Please also inform me if you can see my presentation over here. And then hopefully we're all good. Okay, thank you, Ali, for confirming. I can see we've got Devang, we've got Lily, we've got Neil does crying over AQA. That's a mouthful. Good to be back, Ali. Ooh la la, the Coke. Indeed, Lily. Yeah, got my Diet Coke on deck. Hi, Sean. Thank you for confirming. Nice one. My moderator. Can't tell who you are, but good to see. Thank you, VSB. Okay, cool. Great to see. So tonight, what we're here for is 3 simple steps to get into your dream university. Okay, so we're going to be talking through everything that you need to know, or rather the top 3 things that you need to know to absolutely make sure that you are heading where you want to be heading. Okay, thank you for the pluses, guys. We are going to tonight reveal the 3 things you need to know to get into your dream uni. And just so you know that our students go on to good places. Here are some of the universities that our students have been to after studying with us. So University of Oxford, University of Cambridge, Imperial, King's College London, UCL, and the University of Warwick. So these are all top ranked universities pretty much across the board, and kind of world leading in certain subjects as well. Okay. But let's get to know each other first of all. So when you are able to type, can you please let me know which city you are in, or your nearest city. Where are you coming from today? Let's see how far flung you guys all are. I'm here in near Birmingham right now. Let's see where we all are. Lily's in Cambridge. Awesome. Hi, Lily. Izan, old student, took A-levels this year from London. Okay, Izan, have you already applied to uni? Gurger is in Southend-on-Sea. Devang in Hampshire. Bolton here, Retro Gaming. What's up? What's up? We're quite far flung then. Hampshire's quite far down. Cambridge is quite far across. Bolton is quite far up. Brum, we've got RM Fun Car in Brum. Love to see it. I'm thinking of taking a gap year. Okay, cool. Near Manchester, okay, so a couple more northerners. Love to see it. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Maya is in Birmingham too. We've got Liverpool, some of the northerners representing here. It's nice to know that we've managed to spread our net far and wide. We've got a few people from further away than just London. In fact, nobody's mentioned London yet. Io is in Liverpool. Nice to see you. Umu is from High. Where are you from, Umu? Nice. Cool. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Louis. I'm just briefly going to talk you through my educational background. So if we rewind about 16 years to when I was in your position, thinking about my A-level studies, thinking about university, what the future held for me. Rewind. 16 years ago, here I am you. So I did my A-levels in English language, English literature, Spanish, psychology. I also did an EPQ, and I also had an AS in critical thinking. So I had a nice kind of broad spectrum of subjects, managed to get A stars in all of the ones that had A stars. It was the first year of A stars when I did my A-levels, and I got an A star in my EPQ, which was on Shakespeare. Devang, this could have been a good opportunity to get your last year's batch to come on to a video. Yeah, but I'm streaming from home right now, so that would have meant inviting them over to my home, which would have felt a little bit uncomfortable. But yeah, totally fair. After I did this, RM Funcar is asking the question, what's an EPQ? An EPQ is an extended project qualification, something you can do alongside A-levels or any post-16 qualification, and it's the equivalent of half an A-level. Universities love to see it. It's a really, really impressive way of demonstrating your independent work. So in EPQ, you would just study any subject you're interested in. So I've marked people's EPQs over the years, and there have been people who have done, things um, like anime and the love that they have, love that people have for fictional characters. Yeah, so some really weird, really, really weird ones, but there. Um, Ria, what A levels did I take? I did English language, English literature, Spanish, and psychology, plus an EPQ. Yeah. Someone built a dinosaur at your sixth form, Lily, as in for their EPQ or just for fun? You can do an EPQ on pretty much anything, yeah, as long as it's something that you can study, and you can write a kind of extended essay, a 6,000 word essay on it, then you're good to go. How did I find psychology? Ali, I loved it. I loved it. It is one of the most popular A-level subjects out there. Um, Pretty much after maths, I think it is the most popular. Certainly was when I was head of sixth form a couple of years ago. Okay. Then once I'd got my A-level grades, I went on to do my undergraduate degree at the University of Oxford. Did a degree in English language and literature. And I loved it so much that I decided a few years later to get a master's degree from there, basically carrying on my undergraduate dissertation to get a master's degree from there. Also got myself a master's degree at the University of Cambridge. This one more specifically in education because I'd been teaching for a few years by then. Got myself a master's with distinction, top of my year, University of Cambridge. I then started a very, very, very part-time PhD at the University of York, during which time I was still teaching because in this time I had been teaching for 10 years, including a head of sixth form role. Okay, so that's kind of just an overview of me. As you can probably tell, I really, really, really like applying for university. So in terms of the number of times that I had to apply for university, we've got my undergraduate degree at Oxford. We've got my master's degree at Oxford. We've got my master's degree at Cambridge. Also along here, we have my teaching qualification, which came with master's credit, which was endorsed by the University of Bristol. So that's another one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for my PhD, that was another one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've applied for university 5 times. Illyri, my college at Cambridge was Wolfson. Yeah. Started teaching right out of uni. Yes, Lily. Yeah. So after my undergraduate degree, I qualified to teach. I got a PGCE with QTS, which is qualified teacher status, from GITEP, which was a teacher training qualification, endorsed by the University of Bristol. So yeah, 5 times, an exceeding number of times to apply to university, and as a result, I like to think that I'm pretty au fait with university applications. Cool. Which college? Down my spacebar. Lose focus. I mean, I think MyEdSpace is a really good way to kind of regain your focus and also to compensate for focus lost in the classroom. You can come along there. I did answer this question already, but yeah, psychology was a great A-level. Neil does crying over AQA. Such a mouthful of a name. What's your real name, buddy? What did I do for my GCSEs? What my option subjects? I did history, art, drama. Yeah, history, art, drama. Yeah, Spanish, French. Yeah, and then obviously all of the other ones. Oh, it's a Naya from my year 8 class. Awesome. Lily, yeah, I did Spanish. I did Spanish at A-level too. CC. Okay, and now tonight I am helping you lot. Okay, so last year I ran a UCAS preparation course, and this lovely chap called Brian, he attended all of these lessons, and he wrote us a lovely review on Trustpilot. So great to listen to the amazing, valuable advice. I'm hoping to give you some of that tonight. Help with the university process. Obviously, different people have different things to prepare for, but university process, Can't get this much information anywhere else. What a sweet guy. Lily, hola. That's all you know. That's plenty. You can greet everyone. Pixelated Games. Whoa, Louis is live. He is indeed. How you doing, mate? All right, guys. So I want to make this session as productive as possible. So with that in mind, I just want you to know you can ask questions at any point. I can see them just here on my screen. They're right in front of my eye line. I will try and answer all of them, depending on how many people are joining throughout the session. I'll try and answer as many as possible. So there are no bad questions. You can ask anything about MyEdSpace, anything about me that isn't too personal, anything about university, anything about education. Just, there are no bad questions and no stupid questions. Let's obviously let's be kind and let's be appropriate. Okay. So with that in mind, has anyone got any questions so far before we launch into the meat and potatoes of today's session? Any thoughts, my friends? I can't see how many are actually currently on the stream. 81 of you. Awesome. Okay. Oh, some great questions already. I always say, what I mean is that while MyEdSpace is ongoing, it will do other things. It's a really good question. I would say the thing with attention is it comes from practice. So what I would try and do is when you're studying on your own or doing your homework, do 5 minutes where nothing distracts you, and then see if you can build up by a minute each day. And that's kind of a good way of building your focus. It doesn't just come naturally. You don't just have one person who goes, I can't focus, and then they go, I'm going to focus and lock in, and then suddenly they can focus for hours at a time. Devang, do unis care about personal statements? Yes, they do. They do. We'll talk more about personal statements as we get into the main session. How do you prepare for university admissions tests? Does MES provide any resources to prepare for those? Great question, Izan. So specifically for the UCAT, which is the broadest medical degree entrance exam, which is kind of not specific to universities, kind of across the board, applies to almost all of the universities. You absolutely should be getting preparation and practice with it. And we're running a course this year specifically for the UCAT. So please check on our website and you'll be able to sign up for that. So yes, we do. That's the only admission test we currently provide coaching for, as well as obviously the 11 plus lower down. But yeah, we're building our library as we go through. RM Funcar, when should you write your CV and is it obligatory? Do you mean your personal statement or do you mean an actual CV for applying for jobs? Brahampreet Singh, I will be choosing my A-levels this year. Is this still useful as uni will be 2 years from me? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this is just kind of thinking ahead. It's some kind of big ideas. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of how to work through specific details. It's going to be kind of, these are the things to have in mind as you go through the next step. So great question. Celia, what's the maximum number of universities one can apply to? So through UCAS, the limit is 5. Technically speaking, you can apply directly to universities, but it's quite rare. So I'm going to say 5. Lily, I know you haven't applied for America, but do you think their exams are harder? No, I don't. Is this session will be on YouTube? Will it be recorded? Yeah, all our sessions are recorded. I believe this one will be. The moderators can probably confirm for me, but I believe so. Yaz, how do you stay motivated when doing longer degrees, when friends have shorter degrees, start jobs earlier than you? For example, courses like medicine. Yeah, great question, Yaz. I mean, essentially, you build, when you're at university, you build a collection of friends and associates as you go through, and each year the final years drop off and disappear, and you gain new friends from lower down. So what will happen is you'll end up with a slightly skewed age profile with your friends, but your friend group will develop as you go through your degree. So that's just obviously something to bear in mind. Celia, why only 5? Because otherwise it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult to kind of demonstrate that you really want to go somewhere if you've applied to 100. Do I know anything about the LNAT? I'll mention the LNAT briefly later. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer them then. My iconic Diet Coke is right here. Okay, there are moderators in the chat. I mentioned them a minute ago. They're going to help me answer your questions. So anything I can't answer, particularly things about, I don't know, pricing or the infrastructure of the website. I can't necessarily provide answers to all of those. So the moderators are going to be doing their bestest. Okay. So Lost says, hey, I got my predicted grades, which is AAA. English grade is great, but my maths GCSE grade isn't that great due to personal issues. Would that affect unis I apply to this year? It depends on the subject you're applying for and the grade. Illyria, UCAT is worst thing known to man. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people say that. Some people love it, though, particularly people who did the 11 plus, because it's almost the same exam, just harder. Retro gaming. What grade did I get for English literature and language? At university, A star. Sorry, at A level for university, A star, and at GCSE, A star as well. Did it help me get better chances? I would say so, retro gaming, yeah. Yeah, so there are certain courses where they look at your GCSEs as well as your A levels, and there's a minimum requirement for certain ones. Okay. Lily, do unis look at GCSEs? Yeah, I just answered that one, didn't I? Yeah, so unis do look at GCSEs. Depending on how competitive the course is and how prestigious the university is, they will often look at GCSEs too. Yeah. What are we saying? When should you start revising for the UCAT? Mills, as early as possible. Yeah. The wonderful thing about the UCAT is because people struggle with it so much, there are tons of materials out there. But I think, as far as I know, we're the only course offering, we're the only business that I'm aware of that is offering a complete course that kind of runs you through the process. Maya, I want to apply to 2 different courses, 2 with one course and 3 with another. Is it okay if I just write about my skills? Okay, Maya, this is a great question. Ask me again when we get onto the personal statement section, because there is a very specific answer to that. So hold on until then, and I'll help you out. Rickson, what are you doing here, buddy? I thought you were in. I thought you were in year 6. Great to see you, though. All right, so what is your dream university? So for those of you who have already started asking me questions, you're starting to mention courses and things like that. What university would you like to go to? Saying UCAT is an entrance exam for medicine degrees. Mills, do not burn out if you start revising too early. It depends how hard you're revising to begin with. If you're going ham from the start, then yeah. Whereas if you're just starting to look at the odd question, do the odd bit of research, look at the odd YouTube video, attend the odd course, then no. But if you're doing a full UCAT every day, then yeah, you'll burn out. Honestly, so ramp it up slowly. Lost, saying, should I start my personal statement before I go to school in September? What year are you in? Okay, so we've got people wanting to go to LSE, Oxford, UCL, Oxford or Cambridge from Ali, Cambridge, Oxford or Harvard. So even looking across the seas. Awesome. Retro Gaming, Oxford and Cambridge. Illyria, Cambridge, wicked. Celia saying, that's the problem. I'm about to go into year 13 and still don't tend to be very indecisive. That is fine. You have time. How does the UCAT work? I'm saying you sign up for it, and then you basically tell the universities that you're applying to for medicine that you have signed up for it, and then they will be able to access your final mark. So it's done separate from universities. Okay, so for those of you going into year 12, you can start as early as you want on things like personal statements, but your schools will start to give you guidance from kind of fairly late on in year 12, usually. Okay, so Lost, you're going into year 13. Should you start your personal statement before you go back to school in September? Yeah, this summer is a good time to do it. So you've got a few more weeks. I would definitely recommend doing at least a draft of it, and we'll talk through what should go in it. Awesome. So you guys want to go to some pretty amazing universities. Lots of you have mentioned Oxbridge. Some of you even mentioned studying overseas. But how can you get there? Now, the way that I see it, actually, I can't tell you yet. Before I give you my top tricks and tips, if you know any other friends who you think would benefit from this, so anyone who's looking to go to a competitive university, or anyone who is, same age as you, who is wondering what to do and how to kind of best prepare themselves, even year 13s, if you are aware of any year 13s, they would be, or people going into year 13, obviously, they would probably be good people. So copy and paste that YouTube link, get them involved, maybe just chuck it into your favorite group chat, and we can have some fun. So please do share, and then we will jump into the main bulk of what we're doing tonight. Link sent. Love to see it, Ritesh. Thank you so much. Let's get the word out here. I'm hoping there'll be lots of value to share with you tonight. So the more people you can get involved, the better. That would be great. Just miss won't happen next year. So I guess I love that. I love that commitment. Thank you. Izan, you're going to send a link to the tech support team. Okay. Nice. All right, cool. Thank you so much, guys. Please continue to do so. Now, the way I see it, there are 3 really important things to do to get into your dream university, particularly if it is a particularly competitive one. Okay. So number 1 is choose wisely. Number 2, supercharge your eligibility. And number 3, nail your application. Lily, all your friends are asleep. Why? Are you in a different time zone, or do you just have friends who go to bed super early? Love that. So we're going to clap, we're going to grow, and we're going to pray. So I've come up with 3 acronyms, 1 for each of these 3 stages, and I'm going to talk you through in detail all of the things that you need to be thinking about ahead of applying for university so that you stand the best chance of getting in to the right course for you. Okay? So we're going to choose wisely, supercharge your eligibility, and nail your application. So let's start with choosing wisely, which is clap. Okay? Clap is what we're going to do to choose wisely. Oh, all your friends are abroad, Lily. Crazy. Harley, are there uni courses you can do without needing a GCSE? Like if you fail it, it depends what the GCSE is. Most university courses expect English and maths as a kind of foundation at a certain level, and you can check what the level is that's expected. I can't think of any university courses, undergraduate courses, that don't require those things, but some of them also require specific grades in, say, biology, chemistry, etc. And some of them require higher grades like 6s and 7s rather than just passes. So there's a range of answers to that, Harley. Okay, so when it comes to clap, what do you think the C in clap stands for? Let's try and break down my acronym. For those of you who have been taught by me before, you will know that I absolutely love an acronym, and tonight is no exception. I spent a long time trying to get the acronyms to work, honestly. Nice one, Izan. And Lily, of course, the C stands for... Where's my pen? There's my pen. Stands for cost. Absolutely. So think expense in all senses. What about... Oh, come back here. What about the L? What's the L for, do we think? Nice one, Ali. Ali is saying location. Absolutely, location. So thinking about travel and surroundings, location is next. I've seen location, which makes me think of that TV show, which I think is just called Location. Never actually watched it. What about the A? What about the A? This one was a bit of a stretch, I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I was pulling this together, I thought, acceptability, ability, application, those are all quite logical. Accessibility, applicability is the closest one. What I ended up settling with, though, guys, was appropriateness. So how suitable is the course for you specifically and your goals? Okay, so appropriateness is the word that I went for there. It's a bit of a mouthful, but hey, we roll with the punches. And then finally, P, where we're thinking about the reputation of an institution, what do we call that? It is that place is P what? Well done, Devang and Eliri. So prestigious would be the adjective. Eliri, the noun I was looking for, thank you, Lily, as well, is prestige. So Izan, it's prestige, the noun you're looking for, rather than prestigiousness. But yeah, prestige. Okay, what else do you think should go into your thinking when it comes to selecting a university? What other things do you think you should consider about when you're choosing a university and choosing a course? Okay, so lots of you are mentioning grades. I would say that comes into the appropriateness thing. So grades, will I manage? You know, so if they're asking for 3 A's, am I likely to get 3 A's? Yeah. Ooh, interesting. So sustainability. So you might care about the university's specific approach to sustainability and maybe even the politics of that university. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's a really great one. And that should factor into your thinking for sure. Ooh, okay, yeah. So someone's just mentioned accommodation. I would say that probably falls under costs. Yeah, accommodation. That would be one of the kind of the costs. But I guess you could also think about how nice the accommodation is. Yeah. Um, nice. Okay, so in terms of the university, the long-term goals, I guess what you're looking at there is employability. And that's one of the ways that certain people rank universities when kind of those rankings come out. We'll talk about those in a minute. Yeah, where your friends apply, for sure. Yeah. Um, so the social side of things. Um, nice working availability, how you want to work alongside it. Yeah. So for those of you who will be getting jobs while you're studying, certain universities and certain university courses won't let you have a part-time job while you're studying, and they will try and prevent you from doing so. So you have to be really sneaky if you do take one. Social life definitely is, and I think should come into it. Harley, good question. Does MyEdSpace have tutors for philosophy and sociology? Sadly, not, because it's not a widely taken course. So when we were building the company, we started with the most popular subjects. So we're kind of building up our profile. Okay. Izan, why do some universities prevent part-time jobs? So a lot of them think that it is impossible for you to study with how difficult a degree course is, whilst also giving a lot of your time over to earning money. Okay, so some of them are quite fussy. So my undergraduate degree, they stopped us from getting jobs. I very sneakily took on a part-time personal training job, and they didn't manage to find out about it, but they do frown upon it. Okay. Does that depend on the course or the uni? Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna dig a little deeper into cost, okay? Because cost is a really significant one. Some people just turn up to uni on the first day and then go, "Oh wow, this is a more expensive lifestyle than I was expecting." Okay, so I'm gonna start with three figures. There's 9,250, 13,500, and 60,000. But this one is dollars rather than pounds. What do you think those three figures refer to? What unites them, first of all, before we look at what separates them? What do you think they refer to? Okay, so a lot of people are noticing that 9,251 is tuition fees. Now, I'm going to tell you guys that these are all tuition fees. These are tuition fees, but they are different. Harley, can uni ever be free? I guess if you get a full scholarship, that can sometimes happen, but it's very rare. Izan, that's a good guess. 13,500 average cost per year, which includes maintenance loans. Good thinking, but no. All three of these are tuition fees. So what do you, if we think all of you have recognized that 9,250 is the kind of the base fee across universities in this country. It's not masters and PhD. Really good idea, Ria, but no, those tend to actually charge less per year because they are so like a PhD. They'll charge slightly less. It's more like $8,000 for the year, spread across 2 years if you do it part time, that kind of thing. So no, not about that. It's not about for foreign students. These are all for students from the UK. You're absolutely right, Illyri, that international students do pay more. So if I just tell you that 9,250 is for most home students, so students in the UK studying at a UK university, they're going to be paying £9,250 per year. Okay. What if I told you that there's such thing as a private university? Just as there are private schools around the country, there are also private universities, such as the University of Buckinghamshire. Now, the University of Buckinghamshire, much like the other independent or private universities, they charge more per year by, what's that, like £4,000, just over £4,000 extra per year for this private institution. Okay. What do you think the $60,000 might refer to? Yeah, Illyri, if you're English, all unis charge you, apart from the private ones. Devang, yeah, private unis are an interesting one. There's pros and cons. Yeah, so studying abroad, you're absolutely right. But specifically, so Ivy League, the average tuition fee for 1 year at an Ivy League university for an English student, or a British student rather, if you were going to study at Harvard, Yale, Princeton, MIT, etc., you would be paying $60,000 per year in tuition fees. Okay, so this is something that you need to think about, because the tuition fees, obviously the bulk of you are going to be paying this. Some of you might be interested in a private university, and if so, you're going to be paying more per year. And obviously, if you're thinking of going to the US to study, and there are similar figures for other US universities and universities in other countries. I've just given that as an example. Okay, what do you think these two figures refer to? What do you think these two figures refer to? What do you think these ones are? So someone's just said student accommodation. Lots of people saying accommodation. Nice. So you are right. This is the average rent for a property, for like a whole property. Okay. University students will tend to live with other people or live in university halls. But what if I told you that these are two different locations? These are two different locations. So in one place in the country, the average rent is £791 per month. And in another part of the country, the average rent is £3,250 per month. Now, this is specific to the city that they're in. This is not about the university. This is specifically, yeah. So the 3,250, it is in London. Anyone want to guess where in London? It's the most expensive rent in the country in this particular location. You're right to narrow it down to London. Can you narrow it down further? It is pretty central. Anyone want to be specific and name a borough? A specific borough they think this applies to? And does anyone else want to guess where is the cheapest place in the country? Okay, some people saying Mayfair. It's quite logical. Oxford is very expensive to live on, but it's not that one. Okay, it's not Hull. It's not that it is South. Uni of Coventry. So Coventry is actually around the middle. Rent in Coventry is about £1,000 per month. So it is Stoke-on-Trent. Anyone know which university is closest to Stoke-on-Trent? Anyone know which university is closest to Stoke-on-Trent? You're going to get very, very cheap accommodation there. It's not Trent. It's not Cambridge. So it's in the West Midlands. University of Stoke-on-Trent. No, it's actually Staffs, University of Staffordshire. Okay, so if you apply to the University of Staffordshire, there are a few other universities nearby like Keele, all perfectly decent unis, but you're going to be paying a lot less in rent based on the average city price. Okay, and this one, it's in Westminster. Okay, specifically Westminster, it's actually obviously a bit smaller than Borough. £3,250 per month is the average cost that anyone renting there is going to be paying. Okay, and someone else just mentioned Keele. Yeah, Keele University, also quite near Stoke-on-Trent. Okay, so average rent Westminster. So if you were at the University of Westminster, for example, you're likely to be paying more for accommodation. Yeah, Izan, sometimes living at home is a good idea to save money on rent. And you're absolutely right. Those of you who are pointing out, this is only the average rent of the city. This is not student accommodation specific, because different universities have different subsidies in place. So they will pay some of your accommodation fees. Some of them will have university specific halls, so places you can live at while you're in university. They are significantly subsidized. When I did my undergraduate degree, you just asked, where did you live? I lived in university halls. And then university accommodation. So for the 3 years, first year I was in college, so in the college that I was at, on site. The second year I was at this place called Stephen's Close, and then in third year I was at Bart's Close. That's the name of those places, but they're all owned by the university, and therefore they were a lot cheaper rent-wise. Okay, so that's something to bear in mind. Finally, what do you think these figures are? Similar to the one above, but I've taken out, I've actually taken out rent from these. So what do you think these will be? What do you think these would be? Nice one, guys. Yeah, so living costs. I'm just going to call them bills for now, but yeah, living costs. You're mentioning things like, maintenance, living costs, travel, food, social life, all of those sorts of things. On an average month, different places in the country are likely to be paying different amounts. So in Sunderland, okay, and there is a university there, it's the lowest in the country in terms of kind of average bills. Kind of in the middle, Nottingham, excellent university, one of the top rated universities in the country is in Nottingham, and that's kind of in the middle, so about 1,000 extra. And then for Bristol, which is one of the most expensive outside of London, it's the most expensive outside of London, you're looking at about £1,610 for the bills, okay? I would love to talk more about budgeting, but really I'm just giving you kind of a flavour of the things to consider. There are more expensive cities than others. With that in mind, lots of universities provide bursaries, there are obviously maintenance loans that you can get from student finance, etc., etc. So this is not necessarily a sign not to go to these places. It's just something to consider about the amount that you're going to be paying on any given month or year. Okay, now let's think briefly about location. So when I was 16, 17, so about 16 years ago, half my life ago, that's a depressing thought, isn't it? We didn't really use the internet to be doing our location searches. So what I did is this, okay? I put a pin in a map where I lived. So I lived near this little place called Hay-on-Wye with a town of books. And I tied a string. I tied a string to it. And I set that string to measure me approximately an hour and a half. Okay, so I worked that out in miles. I cut the string to the right length, and then I just dragged it round like this. And anything that was within my search radius, I looked up the name of the city and I saw whether there was a university there. Okay, so that's how I did it back in my day. You'll be pleased to know you don't have to do it like that nowadays, but I ended up here, which was just within the length. I had to stretch the string a little bit. Okay, so I ended up over here in Oxford, and as you'll see, there are a few little pins there, and that's because there's more than one university in Oxford. Okay, so you've got the University of Worcester in Worcester, you've got a higher ed college in Redditch, a couple of higher ed colleges in Hereford, the University of Gloucestershire in Cheltenham, there's a higher ed college in Cirencester, there's the University of Coventry and the University of Warwick over here in Coventry, and I added these to my list, and then I picked a few that were outside, but really I had my heart set on this one here. And one of my other choices was University of Warwick over here. Now, location matters, doesn't it? Okay, location really matters. And there's a reason why putting a limitation on your distance from home, or even just picking a specific place in the country that you like, is going to be relevant. Hi, Ifa. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about university costs here and location. So here's a few reasons why location might matter. Proximity to the family home. So if you're staying at home, then this really matters. So in my last role, before I came head of English here at MyEdSpace, I was head of a sixth form in Birmingham, and the overwhelming majority of my students applied for universities within the city of Birmingham. So they applied to UOB, University of Birmingham, they applied to Aston, they applied to BCU, Birmingham City University, they applied to the University of Law, which has a campus in Birmingham. They were applying mostly to places within the city because they wanted to stay in the family home. Okay? So they wanted to stay there. A couple of my students, though, were like, "Sir, what's the furthest university that I can get away from my family because I'm sick of them?" Okay, so the distance from your family, whether you want to be really close or really far away, is something to consider. Cost of living. We talked about the cost of living. Different cities have different costs of living. London is very expensive. Oxford, Cambridge, very expensive. Bristol, quite expensive. We've got much cheaper places, like most of the north is a lot cheaper. So Durham, County Durham is a very cheap place to live. I lived in County Durham for a few years, and I was paying, I think, 1/5 of what I'm paying in rent here in Birmingham. Crazy. And the so costs of the city are worth considering. Availability of natural resources. Now, this might not might not matter to some people, but being close to a river or the ocean or mountains or kind of the background that you care about matters to some people. So I know some people who picked the University of Cardiff, and some other people who picked the University of Plymouth just so they could be by the beach, because they loved being by the sea. Some of them were surfers, so they deliberately picked it based on the natural landscape around them. Other people were deliberately landlocked because they didn't like the sea. Some people wanted to be near to airports, which is the next thing. So airports. Religious community is massive. So it's worth looking up before you apply to a place. What is the religious community like in that particular place? So if you are, for example, a Christian or a Muslim, the two most common religions, you're very likely to find a community of people who share your religion, and therefore have that kind of connection built in. If you have a less popular religion, then you might want to look at where the specific, you might want to look and see if there is a union, for example, at your place. Illyria, is Scotland cheaper like Edinburgh? So Edinburgh itself is quite expensive to live in, but Scotland in general is cheaper. They also have a different approach to university fees, and you end up paying a lot less. Where friends and extended family are going to be. Some of you mentioned that on the previous slide, how close you're going to be to the people that you love. Where there's actually a university offering your subject, right? This really matters. So if I just cross out these ones, right? These were all higher education colleges. They did not offer university degrees. So that was a bit of a struggle. Actually, not that one. That's University of Gloucestershire. But that one there, Newent. Okay, so most of them weren't offering actual degrees. So that was a real struggle. And finally, how nice the city is, especially if it's not a campus university. So in the chat, guys, what's the difference between a campus university and a city university? Go off in the chat. Who knows? Because it makes a massive difference to how nice your environment is when you're there. You only have a learning building, sort of, Lily, sort of. No uni cafe, yeah. Yep, exactly. No uni library, exactly. So Lily's familiar with this idea. So in a city university, it is just within the city. There are different buildings dotted around the city that relate to your university, different bits of accommodation. But apart from those little bits, you are just part of the city, living, breathing city, going to the clubs with the local people, paying restaurant prices like the locals do, etc., etc. There's no kind of student-specific places, whereas a campus university has like a walled community. So this kind of micro community of students, and there are student-specific buildings. So there'll be like student gyms, student playing fields. There'll be student clubs. There'll be student cafes. The student union. Most unis have that, even city ones, etc., etc. Okay, so if you have a nice university campus, you can forget about how awful the city might be. Whereas in contrast, if it is a non-campus uni, you really, really need to care about the city that you're in, okay? Because it might be a really tough place to be. Maybe it's dangerous. That's something to consider as well. Okay, so location matters. And then finally, prestige. Okay, I hate to say it, but prestige does matter. Okay, there are certain jobs later on in your life where they will look, first of all, at the university that you went to, and they will differentiate from there. Okay, OG Reality, of course I remember you. Hello, hello. Hope you're interested in going to university. It's a good place to be. So prestige matters. For the rest of your life, people will ask you where you went to uni. And I wish it weren't the case, because there are some amazing universities out there that are not, well thought of. Um, so one of my friends, for example, is just completing. She's a mature student. She's just completed her undergraduate degree at Kiel. It's not highly ranked by most of the university rankings, but there are so many things about it that it's so much better than the higher ranked one. So it matters. Hi, Harry. Yes, there would be a bias if someone went to a higher ranked university, for sure. Uh, Gurgia, yeah, a campus is like a tiny community, exactly. Okay, so with prestige, how can you identify the prestige of a university? What can you do in the chat? Type in the chat, what can you do to identify the prestige of a university? Google search. What can you search for, crazy? Okay, Devang, exactly. University ranking websites. Of course. Does prestige matter in medicine? It matters less, Mills, but it still matters a bit. Because medicine is already so competitive, you'll be respected inevitably. Go to the university itself for information, but they will all big themselves up though, so that's not necessarily going to be useful. So the main thing that we do is, just as Devang said, you go to ranking, okay? But there are so many different ranking systems. So here's just 3 of them. So if we wanted to know what the top 5 universities are in the UK, we would do this. We would go to maybe the Complete University Guide, or we would go to the Guardian University Rankings, or we'd go to the Times University Rankings, okay? And you will notice that lots of the same universities come up again and again. You've got Oxford and Cambridge in all of the lists. You've got LSE in all of the lists, which is London School of Economics, by the way. You've got St Andrews in all of the lists. You've got Durham in 2 of the lists, and you've got Imperial in one of those lists as well. It used to be in 2 of them. It got popped down to number 6 by the Complete University Guide this year. Okay. Yeah, Celia, you can ask ChatGPT to rank them, because ChatGPT will just take these rankings and kind of tell you what they are. Okay. But there are 3 different places with 3 different rankings, but they're mostly similar. But what if you're thinking, well, I don't just want to go to the best university in the country. I want to go to one of the best universities in the world. And so you then go to the world rankings. Okay. Best campus university in Wales, which provide medicine. Cardiff is a great university. Devang, very good question. Should you look at overall rankings or like for your specific course? Both. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through it one at a time. World rankings. Okay, so if we just look at the overall world rankings, there are 3 different world ranking systems. There's the THE, or Times Higher Education World Rankings. There's the QS World Rankings, or the Shanghai or ARWU World Rankings. And what you'll notice is that for Times Higher Ed, Oxford is ranked number 1 in the world, Cambridge 5th in the world, Imperial 9th in the world, UCL 22nd in the world, Edinburgh 29th in the world, etc., etc. Okay, so these numbers in brackets are what they're ranked in terms of the world rankings. But obviously, if you're going to stay in this country, you're only going to do these ones that are here. Okay, so you can look at the world rankings if you're really ambitious, but you then want to be thinking, okay, but what about my specific subject? Okay, because what if I apply to Oxford, for example, and I find that it doesn't have a ranking for psychology because they only do experimental psychology as a degree there, for example. So it's not going to be that useful to me. So I'm then going to go subject specific. I picked English language and literature to make this list. Obviously, I'm still looking at the world rankings here. For my subject, Oxford and Cambridge were ranked 1st in the world according to QS for this particular subject. Edinburgh was 7th, UCL was 12th, King's was 16th. Now, when I applied, one of my other options was UCL, because back then it was also highly ranked as well. And then finally, if you are going on to do a degree after your degree, let's say you're doing an integrated master's, or you're going straight on to do PhD or master's research study, you might want to look at the Ref 21, which is the Research Excellence Framework. Crazy. They do it every 7 years, I think. The last one was in 2021. And you will see that for if you take a course like education, and I picked this because this is what I'm doing my PhD in, you've got Oxford, Durham, Birmingham, Cardiff equally ranked, and then York in number 5th. That's where I ended up doing or starting my PhD. So all of these sorts of things are definitely factored into your thinking when it comes to the prestige of a university. If you can get into one of these top ones, it will make a big difference to your employability later on. And, you know, you can always just, I don't know, brag about it to your mates. Devang, should we look at, no, answer that one. Bristol, 15th, but overall higher for your course. Yep. Devang, Bristol is always going to be well respected. It's a very, very good university. Yeah. Devang, should look at both, but realistically, which one is more important, especially for jobs? Realistically, Devang, if you're going into a specialist field, they will care about the university's ranking for your specific subject. But prestige is more of a general idea of like, oh, that's a good uni. But the experts will know about your subject. Yeah. Thoughts on Swansea for a medical university? Yeah, also great. Yeah, very good uni. And I don't know a huge amount about the medicine course. I don't think I've ever sent anyone to Swansea to do medicine. I think I once sent a student to Swansea to do biomedicine, and they really enjoyed it. But that's the best answer I can give you for now. Okay, in terms of becoming super eligible, we need to grow. So what does grow stand for? What's the G for, guys? We're probably going to run for a little while past 8. By the way, guys, if you'd set aside time for this, we're going to run a little bit longer because there's just so much to say. Nice one. Okay, so G is, of course, for grades. Okay, your grades are going to matter. What do you think the R might stand for? If you're thinking supercurricularly, it's a great word. They care a lot about supercurriculars at competitive unis. Okay. What do you think the R might be then? What's the R? It is the extra stuff outside of college, but it has to be relevant to your subject. It's just reading, but I'm going to call it reading plus, because it's not just reading. It's things like going to lectures. It's things like downloading podcasts. It's things like making friends with experts. You know, like it's the supercurricular stuff. You do the stuff you do alongside your subject. Yeah. MES logo. Fahim. I love the blocky style. What do the O stand for? Think about the relation to Korea. Not the country, but your career. What are we saying? What does the O stand for? Not options, crazy? No. It's occupation, okay? It is occupational prep, otherwise known as work experience, okay? So your work experience is super relevant. Work experience is super relevant for specific courses. And then finally, the W is for written tasks. And that's things like entrance exams, okay? Entrance exams, etc. Okay? You're going to say WEX, but you saw the O, yeah. So work experience, occupational prep, same thing. I just wanted the acronym to work, hence saying occupation. Okay? So when we're thinking about these things, grades we'll talk about in a second. Written tasks we'll talk about in a second. But in terms of supercurricular stuff, you can attend lectures at your local university. There are some that are open to the public, and there are some that are open to students on open days. So attend lectures at university. Read widely. So read beyond your A-level course. Thank you, Fahim. Appreciate that. What else? Attend lectures. Read widely. What else can you do in terms of becoming extra eligible? Things you can pop into your personal statement. What do we think? Clubs. What kind of clubs, Lily? Because extracurriculars don't usually matter. They have to be supercurricular, i.e. relevant to your subject. So yeah, let's say you have, I don't know, let's say you have a reading club, okay, where you get together and you share journal articles from your particular subject of choice. Volunteering, if it's relevant for him. Yeah. I think Gurija is slightly behind on the. I think might have got a lag because they seem to be answering questions from earlier on. Feel free to tell them to refresh the page. Might get them up to date. Okay, so there are loads of things you can do supercurricularly, but you're doing stuff which is alongside your studies. Competitive universities care deeply that you are going beyond just what's in your A level. Essentially, the way that universities look at it is if it's a really competitive uni for really, really smart, hardworking individuals, their line on it is A levels are not enough. A levels do not prepare you sufficiently for undergraduate study at that level. It's just as simple as that. And every year when I talk to the friends of mine who work at university level, they say the same thing, which is these A-level students are just not prepared for undergraduate study yet. So it matters, okay? Work experience, it's not relevant to all degrees, but it's very relevant to... It's very relevant to sports science and sports psychology. It's quite relevant to psychology. What do you notice about all of these examples? Why was it not relevant for me? Why did they not care if I had ever had a job before? Oh, Lily, my mic shouldn't be cutting. Is that any better? I've turned up the volume slightly. All about doctors, but they're not quite. What links these things? What links them, guys? Anyone know? It's not necessarily they're linked to health, although that is true. They're the practical ones, okay? Oh, weird. Okay. So you guys have found some great links between those. They're not the ones I was looking for. If they're practical subjects, they care that you have done work experience in that area, i.e. that you can do the practical side of things, not just the academic side. Okay, let's dig a little bit into grades. So I'm just going to show you this. I know it's a lot of text, but bear with me for a second. Grades really matter. Okay, and I'm just going to show you an example of just taking Oxford as an example, because it's the one that came up most often in the Dream Uni section, and it's also one that I have the most experience with. So for one of the most competitive courses at undergraduate level, E&M, which is known as, Economics and Management, which is known as E&M, there are 20 applicants for every place on the course, which means, a 5% chance of getting in. And that's when you've already self-selected. So I'll show you what I mean by self-selected. So in 2023, which is the most recent data that I could find, there were 23,211 applicants for undergraduate courses at the University of Oxford. That is only one Oxford hopeful for every 21 people applying for university. So you take a group of 22 people, a group of 22 people, only one of them would be eligible to apply for Oxford in the first place. From then, only 1 in 8 was admitted. So to turn that into a figure that really kind of shows the competitiveness here, in 2023, 0.6% of the applicants to university got a place to study at Oxford. Okay, so you self-select by only applying if you think it's really likely, and then of that, only 1 in 8, or in the case of economics and management, 1 in 20 is going to be able to get onto that course. Because it's so competitive, the grades really matter. So this is quite sobering, but really important reading when it comes to knowing what you are capable of. Okay, so the minimum entry requirement for all courses at Oxford is AAA. However, only 1 in 16 applicants was successful with just 3 A's. Over 84% of them had at least 1 A star. Even if they only ask for AAA, you're unlikely to get in with less than an A star. Indeed, over half achieved 3 A stars or better. So the vast majority of people who got onto the courses achieved 3 A stars or better. Even if they say AAA, that's not really what you want to look at. A couple of questions have come up. Let me just check. Is business a good subject to take or computer science? Daniel, it depends what you want to do with it. What do you want to do in future? But they are two subjects that are unlikely to die out. And they are, big growth industries. So yeah, they're likely to be good if your goal is to go into one of those industries or to make a lot of money, for sure. Undergraduate study would be university. Yeah. What could possibly be better than an A star? Celia, more than 3 A stars. So when I say or even better, there are people with 4 or even 5 A stars who are more likely to get in. Okay, so AAA is what they ask for, but you're unlikely to get an offer unless you're predicted at least 1 A star and ideally 3 A stars or more. Okay, so it's just something to think about there. There's a difference between entry requirements and entry standards, okay? And what is wonderful about UCAS is this year, actually it was last year, they introduced a new feature that allowed you to look at university standards of entry rather than just entry requirements, because the entry requirements are lower usually than what they ask for. Let's zoom in on medicine, because a couple of people asked about medicine. Medicine at Oxford, the minimum GCSE performance for interview is 6/8 as an absolute minimum or better. Of those offered a place, over 80% of them received at least 10 9s or A stars. On top of that, so that's just at GCSE level, on top of that, almost all of them achieved 3 or 4 A stars at A level. Okay, so when we talk about grades, if you're aiming for a top level university, it's quite important that you be predicted very, very high grades. Okay, so just something to kind of bear in mind there. What job do you think won't get cancelled out by AI and robots? It's a great question. I don't have time to go into it tonight because technically this was only supposed to go until 8, but we're going to run on a little bit longer. But I would say, I don't think teachers can be currently, looking at the current capacities of AI, I don't think they're going to replace teachers. Comedians, I haven't seen AI really get a joke yet, but yeah, it's a separate issue. We'll talk about it another time. Written tasks. Some of you are asking about entrance exams. I'm not going to spend long on this slide. You can always screenshot it or you can come back to it in the recording and rewind it. But basically, I've made a table for you guys about which courses at university do require entrance exams. Okay. So I've narrowed it down to Oxford, Cambridge, all universities and some universities, and then law, medicine, and other courses. Okay. So law and medicine are the most common subjects to find entrance exams, and Oxford and Cambridge are the most common universities to ask for entrance exams. Okay. So for law, for Oxford, you have the LNAT, Cambridge, you have the CLT. Most universities require the LNAT. You've got the UCAT for most courses for medicine. The BMAT is being discontinued. I'm not sure if it's been discontinued yet, but Oxford and Cambridge do the BMAT, but they're likely to start using the UCAT very soon. So the majority require the UCAT, 6 require the BMAT, including obviously UCL, Imperial, Oxbridge, etc. Now, for those of you asking a really big question about medicine, the University of Lancashire is the only university that doesn't have an entrance exam for medicine. Okay, if that seems relevant to you, think about it. And you can screenshot this, like I said. Feel free to come back to it. Now, for nailing your application, we pray. What does pray stand for? P-R-A-Y. Let's think about it. Let's think about it, guys. What do we mean by P, thinking about how you come across? You're right to say personal, but it's actually the personal statement. Okay, so that's how you are showing how you come across. Remember, this is about your application. What is the R that shows how your teachers feel about you? or perceive you as a student or as a prospective undergraduate? What do we think? References, good. Oh, sorry. Your reference is super important. Your teacher or your UCAS coordinator or your head of year or your head of sixth form will be writing your reference, so make sure that you are best friends with them, because they can be the difference between you getting an offer and you getting rejected. Okay, so care about that reference. What about the A? I mean, that one's kind of obvious. It's just the application form, all right? Application form. And then this one, you're never going to guess it. It was one of me really reaching. When I say yield, I mean your predicted grades. So what you're expected to yield at the end. Okay, so personal statement, reference, application form, and predicted grades or yield. Okay, so these are the things to be thinking. You got that totally. Nice one, Daniel. These are the things to be thinking about. When it comes to reference, your teacher does it. All you need to do is to meet with your UCAS coordinator and discuss what is important. Okay. How long did it take me to come up with the acronyms? Crazy. Hours and hours. Devang, I'm not going to show you an example personal statement, but we are going to talk about personal statements in a minute. Yeah. Right. First thing to think about, guys, when it comes to pray is the A, the application form. Never on my watch, but I am aware of horror stories at different colleges and schools where failing to do the application form properly cost people their places at university. So it's incredibly important that you do it right. So I'm giving you these stories of Kez, Samaya, Darren, Bio, Joanna, and Tony. I have changed their names and some of the details just to make sure that I'm not invading anyone's privacy. But these are 6 students that I have known over the years. Or I have been told about over the years, because they weren't my students, I'm glad to say, because I wouldn't let this happen. But Kez, he applied to study medicine. He had good GCSEs and predicted grades, and he received offers. On results day, he met the offer, but was refused his place. What did he do wrong? What did he do wrong? What did Kez do wrong? It's gutting. He was made an offer. He met the offer, but he was refused his place. Izan could be deferred entry. Could be bad reference, but that wouldn't be to do with the way he filled in the form. So what happened with him is he entered the wrong exam board for his A-levels. He entered the wrong exam board for his A-levels. His UCAS coordinator didn't spot it. And as a result, as soon as his grades came in, the way that universities perceived it is that he had gotten no grades at all, because he'd put down that he was studying completely different exam boards from what he was actually studying. Okay? And so he was refused his place at his dream university. Okay? So entering these things carefully really matters. Now, obviously, a good UCAS coordinator would catch that, but some people, they don't have that. Not all schools are created equal. But yeah, kind of brutal. Hey, Lily. Crazy. Okay, Samaya. Samaya applied to study law at a prestigious UK university, having studied for her A-levels in England after growing up in Egypt. She was offered a place and met her offer. On results day, she realised she wouldn't be able to go. What had happened wrong for her? RM Funker, are you able to change your application afterwards if you made that mistake? If you don't realise until results day, then probably not, because your place would have already gone. If you notice it after you've sent off your application, then yes, you can contact the universities individually. She wasn't a resident. Well done, Lily. Not home student. And what does that mean? She couldn't apply for Student Finance England, which meant she would have to self-fund her study as an international student, which would have been tens of thousands of pounds a year. She did not have that kind of money, and so she was unable to go. because she was not a home student. So she had to pay international student fees, and she couldn't apply for Student Finance England to get a tuition fee loan. And so she was unable to go. Gutted. Darren, my mate Dazza. Darren applied to study Spanish at undergraduate level. He meticulously entered his GCSE course and grades and his AS level grades, waiting for his teacher to enter his predictions. He received no offers despite good grades. What did Darren do wrong? What mistake had Darren made that we're all going to avoid making? Lily, you're very close. Teacher didn't enter predicted grades. I'm going to change it. Teacher couldn't enter predicted grades. What had Darren done wrong? There's a little clue. Why could they not enter his predicted grades? It wasn't the wrong exam board. AS level is absolutely fine. The issue is, did not enter what he was currently studying. Okay, so he didn't enter his A levels because he thought that his teacher or his UCAS coordinator would enter those when doing the predicted grades. But because he hadn't put his A levels down, his UCAS coordinator could not put predicted grades in. Boom. My guy ended up not getting the offers because there were no predicted grades in. Okay, yeah. These should be shocking stories, guys. They are very rare, but it's really important. Poor Darren. All right, bio. Big Bio applied for PPE, which is Politics, Philosophy, and Economics at several red brick universities. Red brick is like another word for Russell Group or like top universities, okay? Devang, do they not have application checks at colleges? They do. They do. So when I was head of sixth form, I was also, overseeing all of the UCAS applications. I checked every form really thoroughly, and therefore none of these things have ever happened to my students. However, not every school has someone who's willing to do that, or someone who is able to do that, or is good enough at doing it, or makes mistakes. So you got to be careful. You don't know what kind of school you're in until these things happen to you. Bit of a scandal. Okay, what happened to bio? So he had not met with his UCAS coordinator before submitting. Didn't get to know her. Not a good report from her. It was actually due to what we call duplication or omissions. Okay. So basically what happened is, there are two ways that this can happen. Either you put all your stuff in your personal statement and your application form, and the exact same stuff goes into your reference, and therefore you've only got half of the information. Alternatively, he did not talk to his UCAS coordinator about the fact that he had not got a specific GCSE grade because he was looking after his sick mum. Extenuating circumstances need to go into your reference. If your teachers don't know about your extenuating circumstances, they don't go into your reference. You don't put them into your personal statement. And so let's say you underperformed, but you're a really, really good student. If that hasn't gone in, right? Mohammed, you've only just finished high school. Would it be too early? No, definitely be thinking about it already. Think about this early. It's really, really important. So because bio had been a young carer, this is the sorts of things that would lead universities to provide a contextual offer, which is basically a lower offer based on the fact that the student couldn't help the tough situation they had been in. Okay, but because he didn't meet with his UCAS coordinator, she didn't put that information into his reference. Therefore, the universities assumed, well, he's not good enough at his subject, even though the only reason he'd underperformed in one of them was because he was looking after his sick mum. Okay, so that sort of thing is really, really important. Hence, build a relationship with your UCAS coordinator or whoever's writing the reference. Now, Joanna applied for a master's degree in Spanish. She entered every detail correctly, but was instantly rejected by all 5 institutions. What did she do wrong? This one you don't need to guess at. The answer is right there. She applied for the wrong course. How so, Lily? How so? It wasn't the lack of a reference, Girija, no? What was the issue? She needed an undergrad course, exactly. She applied at the wrong level. She applied at the wrong level, okay? So she applied for a master's degree instead of an undergraduate degree, and as a result, she got an instant rejection because one of the entry requirements for a master's degree is an undergraduate degree already, okay? So we need to be careful about these sorts of things. Okay, finally, Tony. Marmite Tony. Tony applied to study for a BA in Spanish and Arabic at Oxford, UCL, Exeter, Durham, and York. Great universities. She had missed a period of school due to glandular fever, but managed to submit her application form before 6 p.m. on the 31st of January, the equal consideration deadline. Okay. She was automatically rejected by Oxford, which was her first choice. Why? Ooh, sorry. Why was she rejected by Oxford? Is an undergraduate degree a BSc? Yeah, it's a bachelor's degree, undergraduate degree, bachelor. So BSc or BA. Yeah. She applied for 2 courses. No, that's fine. Joint honours is absolutely fine, Lily. Applied way too late, not in September. No, so like I said, 31st of January is the equal consideration deadline. And she wasn't rejected by UCL, Exeter, Durham, or York, just by Oxford. Why? Who knows? There's a very specific answer to this one. It is to do with the date, but it's not about applying necessarily too late. There you go, Izan. Oxbridge and medicine, veterinary, and dentistry have different deadlines. Anyone know when the deadline is to apply for Oxford, Cambridge, or any medical, veterinary, or dentistry course? Anyone know when it is? Nice one, Devang. It's October, okay? The day of the month changes each year, but it's usually mid-October, okay? So October, lots of people saying October 15th. Well done. Exactly, guys. So the application form, it's full of little pitfalls that a UCAS coordinator should catch, and you shouldn't make the mistake in the first place, but these things happen, so we need to read it thoroughly, do it early, so there's lots of time to check. I cannot tell you the number of times I had students emailing me at like 5:45, when I was about to leave to go home, and I have emails from students being like, "Sir, I forgot to do XYZ on my application form. I'm sending it to you now." And I'm like, "Bro, it's 15 minutes until the deadline." But yeah, so let's not fall into those traps, okay, guys? Make a promise to me. Drop a plus in the chat if you're going to promise that. Okay, we're going to talk briefly about personal statements. Guys, I think we're going to go to about past, by the way, if you're thinking of planning your evening. Nice one, guys. Thank you for the pluses. Glad to see we're not going to fall into those traps. Nice. Fabulous. Okay, so personal statement. I just want to show you, in my 10 years or so of working with students, personal statements, here are some of the things that come up. And for each of them, what we're putting plus in the chat for, you're promising you're not going to make those silly mistakes. Nice one. Okay, so for each one, I just want you to put yes or no if you think this should be included in a personal statement. So the name of the university you're applying to, do you think that should be in the personal statement? Yes or no? Try and be rapid fire with these ones, guys. Okay, we've got about 50-50. Some saying yes, some saying no. Correct answer is no. Why? Because you're applying to 5. If you put one university name in the application form, they're going to know which one is your favorite, and the ones that haven't been named are just going to go, well, you clearly don't want to come here very much, so no. Okay, so don't put the name of university you're applying to. How your personal beliefs, utilitarianism, feminism, etc. define you. Yes or no in the chat if you think you should include that in your personal statement. That's me, Lily. So new. Okay, so we've got a bit of a mix here. So we might leave that one as a question mark. We'll leave that one as a question mark. And I agree, it is a question mark. Sometimes you want to do that. Sometimes you really don't. Okay. So there are pros and cons. We'll talk about them in a second. Okay, next one. A list of your relevant skills. Hard and soft, as in your hard and soft skills. E.g., good team player, self-motivated, etc. Do you think you should list those skills in your personal statement? Oh dear. Everyone's saying yes for this. Really, really sorry to say, guys, don't do that. Don't say I'm a good team player. Don't say I am self-motivated. Don't say I work well with others. Don't say I am hardworking. Why should you not list those skills? Why should you not do that, guys? Leave it for the reference, maybe. Thank you, Azan. There's no evidence, okay? This is a personal statement. There is nothing personal about listing the exact same attributes that every other student around the country is applying with. Okay? It's like farting glitter. Love that, Lily. It's a beautiful, beautiful simile there. If you want to demonstrate these skills that you think are relevant, then demonstrate them. So rather than saying, I'm a good team player, say, I collaborated with XYZ to get this outcome, right? If you want to say that you are self-motivated, talk about the fact that you took on an independent course without a teacher or a course instructor and you got this particular grade or whatever. Okay. Do not say I am X, Y, and Z. Only demonstrate it. Izan, yes, they are changing the personal statement structure, but all of these things are still relevant. Okay. What does X, Y, Z actually mean? It means that I'm not filling in the details. They'll change based on different contexts. Okay. So it's basically like an XYZ type thing. Okay, an explanation for why your personal statement seems to be for two subjects. This is a really important one, this. What do you think? Yes, 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 no, no, no. Got a range of answers here. No. So what do you do instead? If you're applying for two different subjects, what do you do? This was someone's question earlier. Can't remember who it was. Someone asked this question earlier, and I'm going to answer it for you right now. If you're applying for two courses, if you're applying for two courses at different universities, your personal statement needs to be applying to all of them. So instead of writing half a personal statement on one subject and half on another, just do one, and then ask your UCAS coordinator to contact the university at which you're applying for a different course and request the opportunity to submit a separate personal statement. So you make two different personal statements. You only attach one to your UCAS form and you send the other one separately via your school to the universities that you're doing different subjects at. Okay, so let's say that you have a student who is applying for, medicine at 3 universities and biological sciences at two universities. Okay, rather than doing a biology/medicine application form, do a medicine personal statement and write a biological sciences personal statement that you send to the two universities that you're applying to do a different subject at. Okay, so you don't just do a personal statement about two and explain why you've done two. You just do one and you send a separate one along. Okay, how your A-level courses have prepared you for undergraduate study? Yes or no? RM Funcar, is there a limit to the number you can do? No. No limit. What do we think? How your A-level courses have prepared you for undergraduate study? Yes. Okay, this is the first one that you absolutely do. Okay, right, I'm going to rapidly go through the rest of them because I obviously don't want to run out of time. We do need to talk about a couple of things at the end. So how you like to spend your free time outside of studying? Probably not. Usually not. The name of the course you're applying for? No, not really, because that's similar to this one here. If you're applying to different course names at different universities, they will know which university you're applying to. A list of what you've done in your life up until this moment. No, too much detail. Keep it relevant to what you want to study. Any of the other questions, guys, if you could just save them until the end, I will come back to them. Work experience you've completed. Yes, absolutely. Mention that there. Significant academic achievements you have under your belt. Yes, absolutely. Places you have visited throughout your gap year. I'm going to put a question mark there because most of the time it's not going to be relevant, but some of the time it might be. Let's say you're studying to do archaeology and in your gap year you went on a big dig. That's going to be relevant, isn't it? But if on your gap year you worked as a ski instructor in Val Thorens and you're applying to do, I don't know, psychology, it's probably not going to be relevant. Okay, so you will know what's relevant and what isn't. Your personal details, e.g. your name, age, school, background, and A-level subjects. No, don't need that stuff. That's all going to be in your application form. You don't want to waste space in your application. Names of your favorite teachers in school. No, your university's not going to care about your teachers at school as much as they are wonderful people. No, no, no. The grades you got at GCSE and AS and your predicted grades for A-level. No, because again, just like these, they will be in your application form, so you don't need to put them in your personal statement. Lily, thank you for continuing to play along. What you do for your part-time job? Again, question mark. Question mark, because sometimes it's going to be relevant, because it might be work experience if it's very much preparing you for what you want to apply. Now, this is a big tick. Some unis don't allow it. Don't allow what crazy? Oh, what, like the part-time job thing? They're happy for you to have had a job before, even if they don't think it's relevant. It's just when you're studying there, you won't be allowed to carry it on. Specific parts of your chosen discipline that have captured your intellectual curiosity. Yeah, definitely. That's going to be hugely relevant. So keep that in. Your origin story, how you came to fall in love with the chosen subject. Yes. That's how you make it a personal statement. You don't just talk about your subject, you talk about yourself in relation to the subject. Loads of people like to talk about, they got really into medicine when they were admitted to hospital in their childhood, blah, blah, blah. So a bit of an origin story, totally fine. Specific examples of your skills, thinking and learning in action. Yes. Contrast that with the one up there that we talked about. Specific examples rather than lists. Okay, so that's the difference there. The names of academics in your area whose work you have read. What do you think about that one? Yes, guys, massive yes to that one. Massive yes to that one. Okay. Supercurricular pursuits you've undertaken, e.g. summer schools. Yes. Huge tick for that one. Yeah, don't lie, Lily. Yeah, definitely. So don't, for example, I applied, I mentioned reading Dante, right? So Dante was a 13th century Italian poet. I struggled with reading it, but I put it into my personal statement, and then it was a really difficult thing to talk about in my interview, and I really regretted it. It was okay, but it was really difficult to talk about 13th century Italian when I don't even speak modern Spanish. It was quite a long way away from my skill set. Anyway, how much money you hope to make out of a career arising from your chosen course. Don't do this. One of my wonderful, wonderful students a couple of years ago when I was head of sixth form did this. She was talking about how, I love this course because it's going to get me bare cash in the bank when I graduate. Don't do that. Don't do that. Think about it in terms of principles, okay? Book titles you think are likely to sound great because they are canonical. Again, if you haven't read them and you don't think, if you don't have something to say about them, don't mention them, because if there is an interview, it's going to come up. You're going to look silly. Okay? How you intend to use your degree to change the world for the better? Maybe it's similar to the money one. What you're going to do with your degree. Sometimes you want to mention it. Yeah, Lily, maybe it's a question mark, isn't it? It could be irrelevant or it could be super relevant. So, if you're doing politics, mentioning that you would like to change X, Y, and Z about the way that the country is run might be relevant. Or it might make you sound like a crazy person with different political views from the person reading your application. So it's risky, and that's why I put a question mark for this one up here about your personal views. They might be relevant, but if you go in saying, I believe strongly in this, and I'm not going to be taught anything different because I've made up my mind about this topic, they're not going to think, oh, this is someone I'd like to teach. They're going to think, this is someone who thinks they already know everything. So don't be going in like, I am a staunch whatever. You know, I'm a utilitarian, and I won't be told otherwise. It's not going to work out for you, right? Subject-specific jargon or terminology specific to the discipline chosen. Of course, you want to show that you are reading around the subject. You are aware of how to speak the speak, talk the talk and walk the walk. And Lily, it's a very good point. If you know it, yes. Otherwise, no. So just like we've said before, don't be using jargon and terminology that you don't understand, but do use the stuff that you've learned and you're confident about. Yeah. The names of family members in the profession associated with the course. No. There's no nepotism. There's no nepotism that's going to be getting you into university because, you know, your grandfather funded the NHS, founded the NHS or whatever. So yeah. Yeah, exactly, Lydia. Imagine if you use the wrong terminology, you would look very silly. I have had to correct some personal statements before where they've, you know, misspelled an important person terminology or they've confused it with another similar sounding one. So it's a risk to take. Okay. That concludes the main body. I've been talking for like just over an hour on this middle section. I said I was going to take half an hour, so you guys have had double the content, and my poor moderators have had double the moderating to have to do. So I do apologize, my friends. Drop a plus in the chat, guys, if you learned something new about the university application process. I'd hugely appreciate it. Ooh, Izan, fantastic question. If you're reapplying for university, can you send your old personal statement or would that be marked for plagiarism? It wouldn't be marked for plagiarism, no. And you can absolutely do that, but I would recommend updating it. Not because they'll recognize it from before or because it's in a big system that will kind of automatically track plagiarism or anything like that, but simply because you're likely to have done something over the last year since you applied in the first place. So you should have new material to add to your personal statement. And I would at least rework it. Yeah. Would I recommend taking a placement year? Ria, if it's relevant to what you want to do, then yeah. Yeah. Crazy. What's your thoughts on studying A-level maths, econ, and computer science? Good combination. Depends what you want to do at university, but yeah, good combination. Neil does crying over AQA. What do you think would be the best degree to study? It depends entirely on your skill set and what you want to do in the world. That's massively broad. I don't think there is a best degree. There are some degrees that will earn you more money or more respect. There are some degrees that will allow you to change the world more significantly. There'll be some degrees that you will enjoy more. It's a really complicated question. Celia, I'm so pleased to hear that, buddy. Nice one, guys. Thank you for dropping those pluses in the chat now. Right now, and we're moving on to how MyEdSpace plays a part in this right now, you have a chance to make a difference. Okay, so hopefully you've identified that there is a big bunch of stuff to think about and a lot of pressure that goes on to applying to a top university, right? And because of that, you are already ahead, right? You can start ahead of the curve by jumping on to understand A-level expectations before term begins, feel confident from day one, be ahead instead of behind, and focus on excelling rather than just surviving. The first option, most students, path A, I'm not even going to talk it through, right? These are all the things you shouldn't do. Trial and error, overwhelm, catch up, just expecting it to get easy when, spoiler, it doesn't. That's not what we want to end up with. Okay, I'm going to answer a couple more of these questions before we move on to the next slide. Clearing. Izan? Clearing is basically an opportunity to apply for a course later on in the process, long past the deadline, when you've got your grades and you go, look, I've got these grades. I didn't get the offers that I wanted, or I missed my offers, but I've got these grades. What can I do? What can I still apply for? And then you'll be able to see the courses that still have places. That's what clearing is. Okay. Lily, if you hate helping people, don't do nursing or medicine. Yeah, really good advice for Neil does crying over AQA. Thank you so much. Illyria, what's the main difference between Oxford and Cambridge? There's not much difference. Look at the rankings. They tend to be neck and neck in most things. Oxford tends to do slightly better on humanities. Cambridge tends to do slightly better on the sciences, but there's not a great deal of difference. The only thing to remember is you can't apply for both at the same time. You have to pick which one you're going to apply for. Who knows why? I'll miss you too, buddy. Yep. If universities don't offer clearing, is it better just to do a gap year than reapply? Maya, so that there will be options in clearing when it comes to it. But yeah, there's not a requirement. You don't have to go to university, so you don't have to use clearing. You can just apply again next year. Brahampreet, you'd have to ask your specific school about that. But yeah, usually you can get them mailed to you rather than emailed. Get it sent out. Okay, how can we help you get there as a company? Well, we're MyEdSpace. If you're not aware of us already, this is our business. Now, we are the most engaging education platform in the UK. And I don't say that lightly. Look at where our teachers went to university. Now, these are just some of our teachers. We have got, I mean, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got another 8 teachers who are not on this list who also went to these top universities. We had Dr. Dario, Imperial. We've got UCL, Oxford, Cambridge, UCL, Manchester. We've got a whole range. You know that list that we showed you of the top universities in the world that are based in this country. We even have some of our teachers who did degrees at universities that are top in the world in other countries. So we know what we're doing here. We've also got tons of experience, decades of teaching between us. I'd say centuries of teaching between us, actually. Crazy time. So how does it work? This is what MyEdSpace offers. Goes alongside your schooling, okay? 2 hours per week per subject, okay? So for English, spend an hour with me on Tuesday, an hour with me on Thursday. In the evenings, we have fun. We metaphorically share our Diet Cokes, Live engaging lessons with the UK's best teachers. I just told you about these teachers. We are good people. And these lessons, they're delivered kind of like this, but there'll be more use of the pen. There'll be more interactivity. You'll have a workbook to be completing, which basically means that you can work with the stuff in front of you. And it's kind of like completing an exercise book, but everything is already put together for you. Recordings if you miss your lesson. So let's say that you have, I don't know, a dance recital, or you have a boxing match, or I don't know, maybe a family member walks into a door and has to have the door handle removed from I don't know, from like their chest cavity. Like whatever might happen, you can go back and record it. Watch the recording of the lesson, and it's just like being there, except we won't be able to talk back to you. And then finally, you'll have homeworks that have video solutions that will talk you through exactly how you should have answered it. So it's kind of like doing your homework with your teacher right there in front of you, marking it for you. Okay. Izan has just said, take it from me as a year 13 student. MES eases the process for my A-levels. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. What a guy. Okay, so that's what MyEdSpace looks like. Okay, you've got these lessons in the evenings, an hour long, twice a week per subject. You can obviously join as many of the subjects as you like. Now, our main courses start in September, but if you're super keen, why wait? Join the summer school starting next week. So next week, from the 11th of August, we're going to be running summer schools, okay? So we'll still have that same system, 2 lessons a week, the homeworks, the workbooks, live interactive lessons. They'll be during the day because obviously it's the summer holidays, and it will be obviously for the remainder of August. So 3 weeks, you get 6 lessons. Just something to think about, okay? So you'll have all of these things that we talked about. Your price, though, £10. £10 for that full summer school course, 3 weeks of learning for just £10. That's the equivalent of about £2 an hour, okay? Crazy times. What's more expensive than an hour of MyEdSpace summer school? Cheeky Tesco meal deal. So if you can spare one of those twice a week, you can definitely afford to come along to one of those summer schools. But what if you don't just want to do one summer school? We'll give you the other subjects half price. Okay, £5 for each additional subject. So let's say you wanted to do English, obviously, because English is the best. £10 for your English course. And if you also want to do maths, which is also the best, then £5. And if you also want to do science, £5 for that. Okay, so you can do the whole lot for just £30. Crazy times. Okay, now we have got a QR code. The link is also in the description. But if you want to follow that QR code to get your special price, sign up to the summer school. I'm also going to show you what it looks like just to check out. Okay, so imagine yourself following this link, as I'm hoping you will do, and you find yourself here. Okay, the internet has come alive for us right now. So I'm going to imagine myself, I'm one of you guys, right? I'm going into year 12 and I'm doing maths, biology. I'm not going to do chemistry, it's too hard. I'm not going to do physics, not going to do English because I don't need it for medicine. I'm going to do maths, biology. Actually, I will do chemistry. I'm not going to do physics. I might throw in further maths. I'm not sure if I'm going to be taking it yet. Boom. I'm going to enter my name, Louis. I'm going to enter my email address. It's not my real email address, by the way, guys. Lpor. Doesn't even have the letters in the right order. It would be Lpro, right? Lprovis. Whatever. Then we jump in. It's going to load. And then you just fill in your details, and it's going to be as simple as that. You'll see in your basket, you've got your initial cost of £10 for maths, an extra £5 for your other 3 subjects for the summer school. You're going to enter your details. Now, I'm not going to enter my card details because the last time I did this, I accidentally signed up for one of my own courses and I had to watch myself teach. And I've got to say, I wasn't a huge fan of the teacher. So we're not going to do that, but the checkout is really simple. Pay now, you get a link to your course, and the rest is up to you. Okay, so I really, really hope that you guys take advantage of it. If you haven't already signed up for the summer school, there is your option to get it for a super, super cheap price. And everyone who is involved in the summer school gets first dibs on the main course. It's going to make life a lot easier if you're going to be joining us, continuing your learning all through next year. So, if you don't believe me about everything I've said about our amazing teachers, how the course works, how cheap it all is, check out our Trustpilot. We have now got more reviews than pretty much any of the other educational companies that I can think of. We got nearly 1,800 reviews coming up. We're still on 4.8 stars, higher than all of our competitors. It's a good company. You should trust me. Now, that brings us to the end of our session. Now, I've only overrun by 40 minutes. Again, thank you to my mods for sticking with me for so long, and to all of you for listening to me rabbit on about all this stuff. But do we have any final questions about university applications, about MyEdSpace, about pricing, about, I don't know, me and my dog, whatever? Any questions you guys have remaining? I'm going to give you another, let's say, 5 minutes, and I'll try and answer as many of them as remain. What are we saying, guys? Thank you, Brahampreet. Sushisa, where can I sign up for UCAT? If you go to the MyEdSpace website, you'll be able to find all of the courses that we offer on there. We don't have a specific like UCAT summer school, but the UCAT course is coming up soon. Can we see my dog? I'm not sure where he is. To be honest, if he comes in, I will make sure to get him to appear on the screen if he'll fit. He is a pretty big boy. Greater, will I be able to correct your essays if you join the summer school? Thanks. For what subject? What subject are you talking there? Maya, any advice for A-level English language? Ooh, Maya, sadly we don't offer a course on that, but it is a fantastic course. It's absolutely fascinating. It's all about, really, it's about sociolinguistics. So things like language and gender, things like language and power, things like how English has developed throughout history, things like how different people speak in different areas of the country. Absolutely fascinating. How children learn how to speak. Fascinating course. Highly recommend doing it. My advice would be just treat it like the science of English rather than as thinking of it like your GCSE English, because it's totally different. Yeah. Any other questions? Crazy. Take care, bestie. Until next time. Nice one, buddy. Any other questions, guys? What are we saying? Happy to call it there. Where's my dog? We'll see if he turns up. Probably won't. Any other questions? Let's give it one more minute. If any other questions come through, I will happily answer them If not, I will let you all get on with your evenings. I know lots of you have got results days coming up soon. Going to be very excited about that. Let's see. I'm not sure if we're getting any others through. What do we think? No? All right, guys, I'm going to call it there then. Thank you so much for your efforts tonight. Thank you to my mods for sticking on for so long. Thank you for investing in your future. It's really going to pay off. Okay? Nice one, guys. Thank you so much. Very much looking forward to seeing you on these courses. Nice one. Olga Regis just asked English language / GCSE correcting essays. So we can't technically kind of take in essays because we have so many hundreds of students in front of us to get the feedback. However, we are training up AI markers that would be able to mark them the way that we would. So we teach them exactly what we're looking for and what the exam boards are looking for. And so we have an opportunity for that. So yeah, we'll definitely have that option. All right, guys, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining, and hopefully see lots of you on the summer school and in the main course in September. Looking forward to it.